everybody, and welcome to the Game Show Canada for February of 2022. I'm Marc Power. Now, I'm going to spare you my usual anti-Valentine's Day rant because the show you're about to see is truly hideous. It's a common theme, it seems, in Canadian game shows for mashups. Take two formats that worked on their own, mix them together, and maybe they'll work. Sometimes they do, like Love Handles kind of worked with a mix of the pressure lock question mechanics, slightly modified, mixed with the Newlywed Game. But sometimes those combinations just don't work. And as is the case, what do you get when you combine the dating game and a cooking competition? No. So, folks, don't say I didn't warn you, because what you're about to see is one of the dumbest ideas I have ever seen for a dating show. It's time to look back, much to my chagrin, at Cooking for Love.
These three men have no idea what challenge our mystery date has in store for them. And welcome to Cooking for Love, the cooking and dating game show where three chefs cook a surprise recipe to win a date.
Cooking for Love was a short-lived dating game show that ran on the Women's Television Network, now known as W. The show debuted in 1999 and was a one-season wonder. The host of the show is actress and journalist Thea Andrews. Thea has her faults, but overall, I'll give her a passable grade. But it's clear she realizes she got dealt a bad hand here. So I'll give her credit for trying. After all, it's tougher to host a game show that you know is bad. Just ask Bob Eubanks when it comes to the Diamond Hit game. The premise is an odd mashup of the dating game and cooking shows. Three bachelor or bachelorettes compete for the chance to win the heart of the day's mystery date. To begin the show, the mystery date reveals a dish they chose from the show's cookbook that they would like their potential suitors to prepare. The contestants are given all the ingredients needed to make the dish, as well as access to a fully stocked spice rack, but not a recipe. They'll have until the end of the show to prepare the dish. Meanwhile, Thea interviews the contestants, interviews the mystery date, and the mystery date and contestants ask each other silly dating game style questions. But unlike the dating game, the questioning just drags, and it's boring. Seldom many laughs or ooh moments. And then the show ends with the mystery date being given a sample of each of their suitors cooking, after which they choose who gets the date, for which the show picks up the tab. The problem is, with all the questioning back and forth, the cooking is so heavily emphasized, but it's clear that in actuality it has very little to do with the mystery date's decision. It's like the cooking is just added for cheap laughs. But when it comes to the cooking, also Thea tells the mystery date who cooked each one. So it's not a blind taste test and not really fair. There's potential bias there, and the mystery date most often has already decided who the winner is going to be before they even pick up the fork. It just seems like someone at WTN pulled two random game show formats out of a hat and said, let's see if this works. And unfortunately it doesn't. Making matters worse, the series got off to a horrible start, as the premiere episode was an absolute disaster. And I'm going to skip my usual format in criticizing the entire show and talk about this episode. The episode features bachelors Darcy, Dave, and Rob competing for a date with mystery date Marianne, who asks them to prepare an oriental stir-fry with garlic sesame sauce and steamed rice. Thea commits a bit of a hosting foul while trying to interview Darcy within 2 minutes of the show by telling off Dave and Rob for talking too loudly while she's interviewing him.
Company.
Yeah, I do some work for various companies making videos.
Making videos. Now, before the show, we always ask what these guys are. Hey, excuse me. I'm trying to do an interview over here. Look at all the chit-chat going on over here. All right, keep it down.
It just came off as really rude, and that's not a good thing. If your host is rude, you're going to turn off viewers. And if they were genuinely being too loud, then that's on the director, who needs to yell cut and tell them to keep it down. Or even better yet, the producer can just ask the techs to turn their mics down. If nothing else, this is something that really should have been edited out. And spoiler, I'm probably going to say that a lot. There was a lot of things that should have been edited out. But for what it's worth, the interview with Darcy was painful. He says he's an AC/DC fan and is looking for a woman who speaks Spanish because he wants to go to Spain one day, and it'll be easier if he has a girl who speaks Spanish. Also, a girl plays the violin and knows karate because he's not very tough. And he's single, ladies. David admits he's a prankster and often makes fun of his dates. He sees where this is going right away and moves right along to Rob. And his interview wasn't too bad, but it was a bit embarrassing when he failed to notice that the rice was pre-cooked. The interviews Marianne, and this segment eats up several minutes and is boring. And then Marianne starts asking the guys her questions. When she asks about first dates, Darcy suggests their first date would be an AC/DC concert. Look, we get it, Darcy, you're an AC/DC fan. But I guess it's not a terrible answer if Marianne's into that kind of music. David, however, no debate, was cringeworthy.
Dave.
Yeah.
If I had to stay home sick from work tomorrow, what would you do to cheer me up?
I'd bring you a ton of fattening food, like
Sounds good.
steak and cheese and bacon and chocolate and maybe something to drink, like some beer or something. You'd be feeling really good after a while, so.
All right. Sounds like fun.
It is.
All right.
Now, it did get a huge laugh, but Marianne gave a very uncomfortable laugh. Rob manages to save the segment when Marianne asks where they would go if they had a private jet for a day, and he says they'd go to the south of France and have a romantic picnic lunch. So at least somebody came to play. For next question, she asks all the guys what they would make her for dessert. Darcy goes for laughs by blatantly copying Rob's answer from the last question. Okay, I'll admit that was kind of funny. Dave, once again, bombs.
Do it first.
All right, and Dave?
I'd probably get you really drunk for,
Whoa, buddy. That's a felony. That's something that should have been edited out. Rob then suggests they just skip dessert and go dancing at a club, before correcting himself and instead suggesting they go line dancing. When Thea goes to interview the guys again, Darcy goes for laughs. David, well, Thea, first of all, can't help but notice David's cooking. David takes, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, at least 12 different spices. And he actually seems really proud of it. Thea even can't help but admit later on that it smells like a forest. So clearly David is just trying to look funny on camera. But dude, you're embarrassing yourself. Knock it off. And unfortunately Rob doesn't do much better in this round by because Thea gives him another chance at a question she asked in the first round, given that he's in marketing, and asks him to make a marketing pitch. Not really fair she gave him another shot at the same question, but I don't think anybody really cares at this point. And even with that advantage, all he can come up with is that he should win on sympathy because he cut his finger while chopping a mushroom. I hope he was just joking, because he's not wearing gloves, and he's still cooking. So I'd be a little worried for Marianne's health at this point, if he accidentally got any blood in the food. At least on Chopped, if a chef cuts themselves while they're cooking, the food is checked, and it's not served to the judges if they think there's any blood in it. Seems like here they didn't even bother. So I'm a little surprised the food inspector didn't throw a red flag on that one. Unless the producers actually did edit it out, which would be a rarity. David blows it again later on when he asks Marianne what she would do if she's dating someone that's too sexy. Marianne is clearly pissed off at this point and wondering why the hell she agreed to come on this show, and just dodges the question. Darcy then admits that he's giving up, saying he's bald and 5'7" and can't compete with the other two guys, and thus the game is ruined. The point of having the wall there is so that they don't know what they look like. And poor Thea has to remind him that he's supposed to compete. I mean, come on, man, you don't give up on a dating show, let alone any game show. Or at the very least, you don't just flat out admit it. I'd be really pissed if I was the producer at this point. I'd be pulling both David and Darcy aside and giving them a good talking to for making a mockery of my show. But making matters worse, Darcy unintentionally digs his own grave.
I've done some scuba diving, and I was wondering, of all the fish in the ocean, what's your favorite fish and why?
Ooh, good question.
Is this a fish to eat or a fish to...
Oh, no, just a fish that you like. Doesn't have to, you don't have to eat it, or you don't have to play with it. I'm not really sure what that means.
Well, I tried scuba diving once, but I got motion sickness, so I never made it into the water. So I don't really know what's down there. I'm sorry. I'm serious.
I can see this isn't going to work.
You're gonna have to take her to Pets R Us, buddy.
Right.
No scuba diving.
I actually feel bad for him here. He had already given up. And for that to happen, that was just bad luck. And oh, I can't let David get away with one of his answers. When he asks what he does on a date.
That makes sense. Now, what do you do on a date if you really want to impress a girl? Obviously, you think you're pretty funny, so what have you done that's so funny on a date?
Well, actually, she had a really good sense of humor, though. But if you, sort of just, she's in a mall or something, you're walking beside her, and, and you kind of go, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, was that you? Just kind of blame it on her. And she turns red, and then you say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding with you. And, they like that sense of humor.
That is very charming.
Look, I'll admit I'm no expert on the subject, but I would think this would not go over well. It would probably go over something like this.
Hey, honey, was that you? Sure smells like it.
I awoke several hours later in the daze. So the tasting portion, Darcy does okay with his cooking. David has Marianne needing water because he just made his food way too spicy. And Rob did okay as well, and actually got impressed Marianne with his presentation. But I gotta share one clip here, Thea getting a nasty zinger on Rob.
I'm not sure what the cinnamon has to do with Oriental pie, unless it's a phallic thing, but if it is a phallic thing, then he's in trouble. Go for it. Okay, that's just a joke.
Now comes time for Marianne to make her decision. Hold on to your hats, boys and girls. As Marianne couldn't be more enthusiastic to tell everyone that she chose Rob. And just to put a cherry on the top of this crap sundae, Rob forgets his rose and runs away as soon as Marianne comes from behind the wall to go get it. Now that's something that should have definitely been edited out and reshot. And granted, it was kind of cute and funny, but it just makes things look bad. And the production's sloppy.
So yeah, Cooking for Love was terrible, and that was just the premiere episode. Now, to be fair, the show did get a little more polished as time went on. But that first episode, as far as I'm concerned, that should have been unairable. I can only assume it just wasn't in the budget to reshoot it, so the producers pretty much just said, F it, and put it on there. But if that's the case, you bump it till the end of the season. I mean, think about it. If I'm clicking around the channels, I see that at Curiosity, and watch that train wreck, I'm probably never going to watch it again. Well, such is life. Some mixes just don't work. And that was the case for Cooking for Love. And it was gone after only 1 year. So now that we're through that train wreck, if you're still with us, I hope to see you again next month when we review another Canadian game show here on Games of Canada. Until I see you next time.
Dude! Come on, man!
Look, guys, it has a mind of its own. I can't do anything
Seriously,
about
Mark, see you ass, Doctor. Become a Patreon backer at www.patreon.com/gameshowcomeup or check out our website at www.gameshowgarbage.com. This has been